Hi. Gosh, I thought there was one or two of you here. Oh, good to see you.
I've just tweeted a message. I've made it clear that I have real concern over the reports coming out of Rafah, the possibility of further ground incursions by Israeli troops, the reported bombardments, and the reality that the laws of war must be respected. They can't be rendered hollow. They can't be interpreted so as to void them of meaning or to dilute or eviscerate any protective purpose that the Geneva Conventions and the law provides the most vulnerable children, women, people that are sick, or civilians. They must be interpreted with full protection that the Geneva Conventions require in hostilities. And the Secretary General of the United Nations has been very clear that the incursion, the reports coming out are alarming. The head of the Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Relief have expressed grave concerns, asked where are these 1.6 million people supposed to go? Whether it's Hamas or the Israeli Defense Forces or government ministers on either side. I mean, Rafah normally is just a town, a border crossing. At the moment, half the population of Gaza are concentrated around Rafah. The population reportedly 6 times its normal concentration. And when you have a population that is 60% children and women by all accounts, the risks to civilians is profound, and I'm concerned. And I had to underline the fact that there's no blank check. There is an active investigations, and all people, all parties are on notice. The Israel government is on notice, officials, members of the military are on notice, that we are investigating. If there are crimes, we'll get to the bottom of it. And we have our judges also here at the ICC to make sure that there's no room for impunity. Civilians, they must be interpreted with full protection that the Geneva Conventions require in hostilities. And I also underlined, as I do always, that we are also actively investigating allegations regarding Palestinians, including calling for the immediate release of hostages. Hostage taking is a grave violation, but we have to be even-handed, and we also have to call out what we're seeing. And I think it's very important that nobody can say they're surprised. I said in Ramallah last year, comply now with the law or don't complain later. I couldn't be clearer. It's an issue that we are moving forward on. I've stated in my previous remarks, I'm not going to go through it all. Hostage taking is a crime. There was no justification in law, in morality, in good conscience for any people to be taken from their homes. But of course, when there's an armed conflict, parties must make sure that they act proportionately and legally. And the question is out there. We haven't got a clear conclusion. That will be the result of investigations, but one can't use a sledgehammer to crack a nut. If there are hostages to be released, I celebrate in terms of the reunification of any individuals that are back with their families. It's a godsend. But civilians who are innocent, who are trying to survive, who've left their homes because of orders to evacuate, because of shelling and bombing, are trying to move into a more and more concentrated swaddle of land. Where do they go, as Martin Griffiths says, the head of the Office for Coordination for Humanitarian Relief? Where do they go?
It's a deal that on paper looks good for the Egyptians and look good for the Israelis, without the fear of mass evacuation, mass displacement of Palestinians, because this has been one of the pinning points for Egypt, that it doesn't want to see millions of Palestinians move outside of Palestine. Now, what does Netanyahu say is that this agreement is no longer viable because of the current conditions in Gaza. So he thinks that if he goes into Rafah, most of the Palestinians will have no choice but to go over beyond the border and move to Sinai. This would appease the right wing of his government, but not necessarily, I think, would ensure safety and security for both Egypt and Israel. As many of your viewers know, Rafah right now has more than... The problem that Netanyahu doesn't seem to understand is that it is better for the security and the safety of both Israel and Egypt to have an agreement with states like Egypt and Jordan, because otherwise he's just opening the door for non-state actors, for militant groups to fill in the void. If Egypt is no longer under any obligation and no treaty binds them to hold the security of the crossing, then it's basically you're opening the door for chaos. Netanyahu seems to be in a bid to save his skin over how this operation has been ongoing, and since he announced really unrealistic objectives since the beginning, anything short of that looks like a defeat for him. Or armed groups active at the border with Gaza. The approach it is following right now actually emboldens Iran, it emboldens militant groups, and give little ground for Arab states who are serious and wants to have negotiations with Israel. The current announcement by Netanyahu actually threatens one of the main treaties it had had with an Arab state for decades.
سلم تصور معه تعال علينا علينا لا عليكم احنا جينا على صحراء قديش احنا شفنا ألم واحنا من الشاطئ على دورنا اللي انتم قلتوا تعالوا